For some folks, processing their 5-MeO experience can be really challenging. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the integration process when it gets really challenging, when it's very physical, when it becomes very disruptive. And I'll say that this is most common, or we see this most commonly with folks who have experienced physical abuse, sexual abuse, or emotional abuse as children. But there's other cases as well. But primarily, I'd say that that's when we see this type of integration experience. And what it often looks like is intense and repeated reactivations. So this is often happening throughout the night, or when people are trying to fall asleep, or every hour while they're sleeping, or when they're waking up. They're having the experience of reactivation, feeling like they're back in the ceremony. It's very intense. Their whole body is kind of viscerally reacting, and it's very disruptive. So it can be really, exhausting to begin with, just this process. Now, typically, as long as people know that this is common in these types of integrations, it helps to relieve the fear or the anxiety of this. It's important to know that 5-MeO DMT metabolizes very quickly, so there's no actual medicine left in your body. What's really happening here is that your body just has more energy to release. It has more trauma stored that it's moving through. You're having a physical processing that's happening here. The other thing that can happen for folks is a lot of just emotion coming up. So crying, anger, grief, just different emotionalities that just feel like they're continuing to pour out of you, right? Another thing that can happen is just a sense of physical discomfort, where you're feeling tension in your shoulders or your chest or your back. You're feeling tightness or cramping. You're having indigestion or stomach issues or heartburn. Some people experience tightness of breath. And in some cases, what you're feeling is new. Your body is going through a process, and it's just physically happening. Other cases, what's actually happening here is that you are connecting into your body in a way that you haven't before, and suddenly you're realizing how it actually feels, how your body is actually feeling, which could be tight, which could be different forms of pain or tension or whatever that might be. So sometimes you're just, for the first time in maybe years or your whole life, connecting into your body for the first time and hearing the signals, hearing what your body is asking for. So I guess a few things to understand about this experience when this is the case. First of all, it's really important to do everything you can to lean into the process and to continue surrendering to what is coming up. Now, for some, you have work, you have children, or you have other commitments, and so you can't just do this all day, every day. But what really helps is to make a commitment to yourself and to schedule in the time you need around your other commitments, to almost make an agreement with your body, make an agreement with your subconscious mind, make an agreement with yourself that you are going to come back, that you are going to continue this process, and that you just need, okay, I need to go to work now, but when I come home, I'm going to do a breath work, or I'm going to lie down, or I'm going to take a warm bath. But it's important to just allow the process and trust the process, because what happens is, what we find is that when people are able to do that, it's rarely more than 5 to 7 days where the most acute physical response is happening, or where these reactivations are happening. When someone understands what this process is and is able to lean into it, it's like the body just says, okay, great, thank you. I have the space, I can let this out. I need to cry right now, great, I have the space to do so. Or if I don't have the time right now, I know that later this evening or over the weekend or whenever that time is, I'm gonna get the chance to be emotional again. And it's intelligent, it's intuitive, and you move through it. So that's the first piece. The second piece is to really consider what the practices are that you can use in order to work through this process. So one of the most powerful ones is breathwork. And I'm talking about upregulated breathwork here, where you are lying down, breathing heavily, and bringing yourself into an altered state. And we have a number of sessions all over the internet and on streaming services. You can also find them on our website. But we have a few very powerful sessions that are in the 25 to 30 minute length that can be really effective tools to help continue releasing the energy. Other times, what you actually need is grounding, so shorter, down-regulated breathing, meaning slower breathing patterns. And check out our videos on breathwork, and I'll try and link to them wherever I link to them here, that explain more about this. But there's also slower breathing practices you can do where you're breathing slowly in through the nose and out through the mouth, which can also help calm the body down if it's really activated and you need to ground yourself in order to function in some way. So those are a couple really useful practices. Hot and cold exposure, so if you can get access to a steam room or a sauna and some kind of cold exposure, which could just be a cold shower if you don't have a cold plunge. Ways of connecting into the body and allowing energy to move, so those are really effective. Yin yoga or other types of yoga are effective, especially if you can really focus on the body through the practice. And then, of course, if you need extra support, make sure you look for it. That could be somatic therapy, it could be talk therapy, it could be coaching, it could be spiritual counsel from if you're part of a faith. It could be talking to a friend or talking to your family or talking to your partner. I think the most important thing to understand is that this is a process. It's actually a very natural process that we just suppress in our society. So oftentimes, because we haven't been able to process these events or these traumas in real time, or if they happen when we're so young that we just really didn't even know what was going on and we had to suppress it then, this is the body's natural response. And so knowing that it's actually more normal than it may seem, and just to trust that if you stay with the process, you seek help, you find practices, there will be resolution that you will find, you will come out of it. What we often find is that, well, all the time when people are fully committed, when they lean into this process and when they seek support and they do the work, coming out the other side is incredible. And you find like a huge amount of release and relief.